Ladies and gentlemen, we have a second round bracket. Today I'm going to be breaking down all of the teams remaining, ranking them from 8 to 1. Well, I guess 9 to 1 because there's kind of a variable with Anthony Edwards. If Anthony Edwards plays, I have the Timberwolves ranked way higher than if he doesn't play. No disrespect to Jaden McDaniels, no disrespect to Rudy Gobert, no disrespect to Julius Randle, no disrespect to Ayo Dosunmu, no disrespect to Terrence Shannon Jr. It's just Anthony Edwards gives this team a completely different ceiling when he's on the floor, not just defensively, or not just offensively, but defensively as well. I think Anthony Edwards is one of the most underrated defenders in the NBA, and going up against this Spurs backcourt, you're going to need all the defense you can get. But whatever, we'll get to the Timberwolves, and they're a team that I want to talk about a lot today. But let's lock in here, ladies and gentlemen. Let's start all the way at the bottom. The worst team remaining in the playoffs, and it's not even close, is the Los Angeles Lakers. And I understand the level that LeBron is playing at the age of 41 years old is next level, unbelievable, incredible. But why are we acting like this guy's still like a top 10 player in the league? Like, the Lakers beat a team in Houston that couldn't shoot, that is bad defensively, and didn't even have Kevin Durant, their best player, who didn't play in the series. Fred VanVleet, where was he? Steven Adams, where was he? And it still went 6 games. And I understand LeBron didn't have Luka, LeBron didn't have AR for the first 5 games of the series. But either way, we're overreacting to what a feat. LeBron James, 41, winning a playoff series. The Lakers supporting cast, you could argue, you can't even argue, played way better than the Rockets supporting cast. But the Rockets were without Kevin Durant. So it's just ridiculous that we're overrating this Lakers team. Rui Hachimura isn't going to shoot 56% from 3, okay? Luke Cornett isn't going to shoot 40% from 3. And they're going up against a Thunder team that is elite defensively on the perimeter, that has elite guards, that has a bunch of guards that can shoot the basketball. Thunder in 4, and Luka's not coming back. I understand how I'm putting an asterisk next to the T-Wolves if Anthony Edwards plays, and I'm not doing that with the Lakers because, quite frankly, I think they'd still only be the 7th best team remaining with Luka playing, even though they were on a tear with Luka. But Luka wouldn't be 100%. And Luka's not going to come back. He's not going to come back. He's already ruled out, and he's week to week with the grade 2 hamstring. So I respect to the Lakers for taking care of the Rockets, but the Rockets only had Kevin Durant for 1 game. So it's no disrespect to LeBron James. But we are overrating the piss out of what LeBron James did in this playoff run. Number 8, I have the Minnesota Timberwolves, chat. And listen, I love Anthony Edwards. I think Anthony Edwards, debatably top 5 player in the NBA. I think he clears that fraud over in Boston in Jason Tatum. And while we're on the subject, let's talk about Boston and let's talk about Jason Tatum, because something very convenient has happened for Jason Tatum's legacy. And ironically enough, it was an Achilles injury. Because the only thing people are going to remember from that series against the Knicks, when Jason Tatum had more turnovers than field goals in the fourth quarter of games 1 and 2, while the Celtics choked a 20-point lead. While Jason Tatum, in the fourth quarter of games 1 and 2 against the Knicks in the Eastern Conference semifinals last year, 2 combined field goals. But with a Celtics team that won a championship a year ago, they brought back everybody. Everybody. They played the Knicks. They were down 3-1. Jason Tatum tears his Achilles. That's all anybody wants to talk about. That's all anybody wants to talk about. Jason Tatum has never had to carry a team the way Anthony Edwards has had to carry a team. I think Anthony Edwards is just as good a defender. Jason Tatum's defense is incredibly overrated. I think he is as good as a scorer, only getting better. Probably not as good of a passer, not as good of a rebounder, whatever. But Anthony Edwards has to carry a larger load on a better team, or on a worse team, than Jason Tatum ever has. Jason Tatum's been on a great team his entire career. He's never had to carry a bad team. And I've had to take, if you put Jason Tatum in Phoenix and you put Devin Booker in Boston, Devin Booker would get talked about as highly as Jason Tatum gets talked about. Now, I think that's a stretch, but I don't think that's a crazy place to be. Obviously, I think Tatum's better than Devin Booker. But he is completely overrated. He's just been in the spotlight his entire career. He's played on a really, really good team with Brad Stevens. And think about that championship run the Celtics did go on. They beat Jimmy Butler was injured for the Heat. Giannis was injured for the Bucks. Embiid was injured for the Sixers, and then they played the Mavericks in the final. It was a pretty Mickey Mouse run to the finals, and they did take care of Dallas, and that Dallas team was pretty solid. But either way, Jason Tatum, incredibly overrated. And I'm talking about the Minnesota Timberwolves. We went on a crazy side tangent, but if you know me, you know I hate the Celtics. And I hate the Celtics. And I hate Boston, and they're incredibly overrated. And if Joel Embiid was healthy for this entire series, gentlemen's sweep. Gentlemen's sweep. Sixers in 5. So shout out the Sixers. Not to mention, you take Jason Tatum off this team this year, they were still the number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference. That shows you how valuable he is to this team. He just dunked on LeBron as a rookie in the playoffs, flexed on him, and for some reason that makes him a top 5 player in the NBA for the duration of his career. I don't know where people get off talking about this guy. He's not some generational elite talent on an NBA basketball court. And because he tore his Achilles against the Knicks last year, that's all anybody's going to remember. Because he didn't play in Game 7, because of the calf strain against the Philadelphia 76ers, that's all anybody's going to remember. Oh, the Celtics had a few down years while Tatum's been injured. Wrong. They brought back everybody from that from that NBA Finals team that won the championship, and they lost to the Knicks. That series was over. Tatum was going off in the game he tore his Achilles. But Game 5, doesn't matter. They were going to lose that game anyway. So it's the biggest cop-out on Jason Tatum's legacy is that Achilles tear. But anyway, I have the Timberwolves at number 8. Jaden McDaniels. I didn't know he was this good of an offensive player until Julius Randle's shot wasn't falling in Game 6, and then Jaden McDaniels was just an absolute sniper from the mid-range. Terrence Shannon was getting downhill at will. He was blowing past Jamal Murray. The only problem, though, Jaden McDaniels said they're all bad defenders. Well, you could say the complete and utter opposite about the San Antonio Spurs. They are all good defenders. Literally all good defenders. And Victor Wembanyama is the best defender I've ever seen in my entire life. That being said, I don't think there's a better player in the NBA in terms of I'd want this guy guarding Wemby than Rudy Gobert. I mean, Anthony Edwards said he's a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year for a reason. I don't want to say he locked up Jokic, but he did a damn good job against Jokic. I think that Rudy Gobert gets a lot of flack. Let's give him his flowers, chat. He was the X factor. He was the X factor in that series against the Nuggets for slowing down, making Jokic unbelievably inefficient, and Jokic just couldn't shoot the jumper. He just couldn't shoot a jumper. I'm not saying Rudy's going to be able to limit Wemby offensively, but I think there's not a better big in the league that I'd rather have cover Wemby and guard Wemby for an entire series than Rudy Gobert. So I think in the front court, the Timberwolves aren't going to be at a disadvantage. But if Anthony Edwards plays, the backcourt is in real shambles here. It is in real shambles. You're talking about Ayo Dosunmu, Terrence Shannon, Bones Highland, Mike Conley guarding and being guarded by Dylan Harper, Stephon Castle, Devin Vassell, De'Aaron Fox. That is all kinds of trouble. That is all kinds of trouble for the Timberwolves. Like I said, the Spurs, they're all good defenders. The Nuggets, they're all bad defenders. Shout out Jaden McDaniels. And he could be the X factor. If he's going to score 30 points, if he's going to score 20, 25 points a game, and Julius Randle also really underrated. He can be a good facilitator. Like I spam Julius Randle PRAs every time Anthony Edwards is not playing because he can get the ball out. He can be a reliable number 1 and win you one playoff game. But against the Spurs, they need Anthony Edwards. Not only do they need Anthony Edwards on the offensive side of the ball, because I have a tough time thinking Terrence Shannon and Ayo Dosunmu are going to have the offensive output that they did have against the Nuggets, against a team like San Antonio, who's infinitely better defensively and healthier, by the way. No Aaron Gordon for a lot of that series against Denver. And I also don't think that they're going to be able to guard Harper, who was terrific at times against Portland, De'Aaron Fox, who was awesome, and Stephon Castle. But Anthony Edwards can guard those guys. He's one of the best defenders, wing defenders in the league. Incredibly underrated. So I like the T-Wolves. If Anthony Edwards plays, I think they're the 3rd best team in the playoffs. That's how good they are. And we keep sleeping on them. Myself included. I thought the Nuggets would beat them in 6 games. I'm an idiot for that. We keep sleeping on the Nuggets, or on the T-Wolves. We got to stop doing it. All Anthony Edwards does is find ways to win. Jaden McDaniels is a dog, one of the best defenders in the NBA. And maybe he has more offensively than we were led to believe. Julius Randle, underrated. Rudy Gobert was the X factor against Jokic. Can he do the same against Wemby? I don't know. But they need Anthony Edwards for this Spurs series because the Spurs perimeter defense is too good. Their backcourt is too good. They need Anthony Edwards, and if he doesn't play, I think it's Spurs in 5 or 6. Also experience, and you got to talk like can't speak. The Trailblazers had no experience. This Timberwolves team has a lot of experience. I do think experience matters. And before the playoffs started, I compared this Spurs team to that Thunder team that lost to the Mavericks in round 2 a couple of years ago. That was the #1 seed in the conference. Like, very young, obviously incredibly promising. They had a generational type guy in SGA. Who was an MVP candidate, but they didn't have any playoff experience. And J-Dub was not good. Chet was not good. The role players were not good. They got bounced in the second round to Dallas. I think we could see a similar thing here with San Antonio against a highly experienced playoff team in Minnesota. But if Ant doesn't play, we'll see. If Ant plays, I think the T-Wolves have a good shot. I really do. Number 7, I have the Pistons. Number 6, I have the Cavs. This is tough, dude. This is tough. I'm not going to lie. This is tough. Cade is a dog. I think Cade's the best point guard remaining. I don't know. Is SGA is a shooting guard or a point? I don't know. He's the best point guard remaining in the Eastern Conference. He's the best point guard remaining in the Eastern Conference. And the Pistons found their groove down the stretch last 3 games against Orlando. But he's surrounded by a team full of bricks. They can't shoot. Besides, like, Duncan Robinson, kind of. But if he's not shooting, they have no threat on the perimeter. And the Cavs also have a lot of size, and Jalen Duren struggled against Wendell Carter. Well, we got Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. The size was a real problem for the Magic in that series against Detroit. And I like the Pistons. I like Cade Cunningham. I think Asar Thompson needs to not leave the gym the entire summer, come back and have a jump shot, and the Pistons can be a perennial contender, not just in the Eastern Conference, but in the NBA. But Franz was hurt in Game 6 and 7. He was great down the stretch in the fourth quarter for the Magic. The Pistons struggled with size. The Cavs also score the basketball way better. They can actually space the floor. But the Pistons had the best perimeter defense in the NBA. They held teams to under 35% from 3. They had the most steals and blocks in the NBA last year. Jalen Duren's going to be the X factor. Can he provide an offensive spurt for the Pistons down low? That's going to be the difference. For Detroit. I don't think it's going to be enough. Also, Dennis Jenkins was awesome today in Game 7. He was awful for the previous 6 games. If they can get another reliable scoring option besides, ironically enough, Tobias Harris, and I say that's ironic because Tobias Harris has been a no-show in these situations in his career. Just go ask 76ers fans. But Tobias Harris, he averaged 25 points per game in games 5, 6, and 7. He was a much-needed second scoring option to relieve Cade Cunningham of that load. However, that's all they have. It's just Tobias Harris. Asar Thompson can't score. He cannot score. Good defender, can't score. Jalen Duren stunk this series. He got bodied by Wendell Carter Jr. They have no perimeter shooting other than Duncan Robinson. I feel bad for his brother, I think, whatever the situation may be. I didn't read the whole story. But he's not as automatic as he used to be, I swear. They don't have the shooting. Cleveland does have the shooting. Cleveland also has, what did I say earlier? Playoff experience. And I think James Harden had a decent series. I think Donovan Mitchell was the guy that was sleeping in this series more than James Harden was at times. I think Mobley and Allen is nice. I think Max Strus came in and gave really good minutes today. If they can get that type of perimeter defense, maybe they have a chance. The Cavs. I have the Cavs at 6. This is tough. I think the Cavs-Pistons series likely goes 7 games. I really do. I think both Eastern Conference series likely go 7 games. The East is so wound up. You could have the Pistons over the Cavs. I wouldn't hate it. You could have the Cavs over the Pistons. That's what I have. I don't disagree because of the playoff experience and the perimeter shooting. And the Cavs have that. And you know what frustrates me? People are gonna clown me for this. I don't care. James Harden's a point guard. Why is James Harden a shooting guard? That guy's not a shooting guard. That guy's been a point guard his entire career. He is a point guard. He runs the offense. He is the offense. Especially the post-Houston James Harden. He's a point guard. Point blank, period. Donovan Mitchell's the 2. He's one of the best passers of this generation, but he was such an elite scorer, all anybody talks about is his scoring. He's one of the best passers of this generation. He's one of the best passers in these playoffs. James Harden is a dog. I feel like we're sleeping on the Cavs. They had the 4th best record in the NBA since acquiring James Harden. They split the season series with the Pistons. They're shooting 35% from three in the playoffs, but they are playing the number one three-point shooting defense. So there is some concern there, but they have way more size down low. The only thing with the Cavs is their defense has been incredibly inconsistent, and they lack a lot of continuity with Harden, Mitchell, Allen, and Mobley. Going into the playoffs, they just played a 7-game series together. I think it's going to be okay. So I like the Cavs over the Pistons a little bit just because of that playoff experience, their ability to score the basketball, and their three-point shooting and their size. I think that's a fair place. I think that's a fair place to be, chat. I think that's a fair place to be. Number 5, the Sixers. Oh, I don't know, man. The Sixers and Knicks is such a tough... This series is going to be cinema. This series is going 7 games. This is such a tough place to be. This is such a tough place to be. Give me the Sixers at 4. Give me the Knicks at 5. I think the Sixers are winning this series because Joel Embiid is the best player in this series, and Tyrese Maxey can give Jalen Brunson a run for his money for being the second best player in the series. But I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to disrespect Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson is a beast. And Mikal Bridges, where have you been? 5 first-round picks. He averaged 8 points per game or something. It wasn't actually 8. He was awful in the first 5 games of that series against Atlanta. Just straight up awful. But Jalen Brunson in the playoffs is a different animal. And the way OG Anunoby is playing, listen. But then the way Paul George is playing, especially on the defensive side of the ball. He's been phenomenal defensively. Paul George, Tyrese Maxey has been an absolute bucket. Now, the Sixers don't shoot a lot of threes. And I thought that was going to be a problem against Boston, who just does shoot a lot of threes. But they weren't making any of them. And everybody's talking about, Boston couldn't shoot the basketball. Boston couldn't shoot the basketball. Let's give a little bit of credit to the Sixers defense. And although the Celtics were missing some wide open shots, let's give a little bit of credit to the Celtics or to the Sixers defense that I think is really solid. VJ Edgecombe's a firecracker. The shooting was inconsistent, but when he's on, he can be a good spurt offensively. He's a great defender on the perimeter. Paul George was good defensively. Joel Embiid, when he came back, was good defensively. Kelly Oubre, Quentin Grimes had some really good defensive minutes. So I like the Sixers a little bit. I think this is such a tough matchup to pick. But I'm going to go with the best player in the series. And I trust, it's like Karl Anthony Towns and Mitchell Robinson on Joel Embiid. You don't think Joel Embiid's going to have, no disrespect to Mitch, but especially Cat on Embiid, you don't think Embiid's going to have 30 and 10 if he's healthy throughout the entire series. You combine that with Maxey, who I would argue is the best running mate Joel Embiid's ever had. Maybe Jimmy Butler was incredible for a little bit. But either way, I like the Sixers. They just beat the Celtics. And I honestly think if I was a Knicks fan, I would have much rather played the Celtics in round 2. I think the Knicks were beat to build the Celtics. They were up 3-1 on the Celtics when Jason Tatum was healthy. Okay, so if I'm the Knicks, I would have much rather played Boston because they don't have a Joel Embiid. They don't have a top 5 player in the NBA. They don't have a top 10. No, I'm not going to go that far. But Joel Embiid looked like a man on a mission, man. He looked unstoppable, especially when the shot's falling. I like the Sixers slightly over the Knicks. Number 3, I have the T-Wolves with Ant-Man. I already talked about it. I won't go any further. I already talked about it. You guys understand how it is. The Spurs at number 2. And I think I'm putting the Thunder at 1 strictly out of respect because they're defending champs. But the Spurs are 3-1 against the Thunder this year in the regular season. And the only time the Thunder beat the Spurs, I'm pretty sure Wemby didn't even play. So I like the Spurs a whole lot. I have a finals MVP slip I'm waiting to cash on Victor Wembanyama that I placed way back in October, okay? So I am an honorary Spurs fan for the remainder of these playoffs. That being said, they're the unequivocal second best team in these playoffs. If anybody tries to tell you that the Thunder and the Spurs aren't 1A, 1B, they're lying, all right? It's a 2-horse race, and anybody that thinks otherwise is psychotic. I thought it was a 3-horse race with Denver, and obviously they had a lot of injuries. I think if Aaron Gordon was fully healthy, different. Peyton Watson was fully healthy, different series. But they weren't, and if my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle. But it's a 2-horse race. Spurs, Thunder. And both teams really deep. And we've seen a trend over the past few seasons, last 2 seasons anyway. The teams that go the farthest in the playoffs, they have a lot of depth. Like the Pacers were the deepest team last year. The Thunder were the deepest team last year. The Spurs and the Thunder this year are probably the 2 deepest teams in the playoffs, besides maybe the Celtics. Maybe, because the Celtics bench did lead the NBA in scoring, but they can't go 10 deep the way the Spurs and the Thunder can go 10 deep. And the Spurs have terrific role players. And everybody wants to talk about Wemby, rightfully so. I think he's the second best player remaining in the playoffs. Freak. He's the best defensive player I've ever seen in my entire life. But they've got great role players. Like Dylan Harper at this point in his career right now is a role player. But he's got superstar upside. De'Aaron Fox is a star. I'll give De'Aaron Fox the star word. Devin Vassell. Julian Champagnie. Oh my gosh, my brain. Keldon Johnson, the sixth man of the year. Like they have solid role players that are playing really well, really good defensively. Stephon Castle, they're one of the best defensive teams in the NBA, and they have a guy in Victor Wembanyama. If he's on, you're not beating them. So I like the Spurs, and then obviously the best team in the playoffs is the Oklahoma City Thunder. And no Jalen Williams. I don't think it's that much of a problem, man. They were 31-1. Oh my gosh. Wow, bro, I didn't even plug in the mic. I'm such an idiot. I didn't even plug in the mic. If you're listening on YouTube or Spotify, I'm also live on TikTok, and I didn't even plug in the microphone. But I think all right, I was getting audio either way. Either way, all right. AJ Mitchell doesn't get talked about enough. He's been terrific for the Thunder. Should be sixth man of the year. I don't know if they announced a sixth man yet. My SIM card doesn't work in my phone, so if I'm out of the house, I don't have Twitter. I don't have access. So I don't know I haven't checked Twitter. I don't think they've announced sixth man of the year yet. But AJ Mitchell should be in the conversation for sure. They have so much depth. And the Thunder role players are shooting lights out. Aaron Wiggins, Jared McCain, Isaiah Joe, Alex Caruso. Case they have so many guys. And in the playoffs so far, Alex Caruso, AJ Mitchell, Lou Dort, Isaiah Joe, all shooting above 35% from three. They have the best player in the playoffs in SGA, who's having the best true shooting season out of any player in the history of the NBA, or any guard in the history of the NBA. They have the best defense in the league. Chet Holmgren's the second best defender in the league. The Thunder are unequivocally the best team. Not unequivocally, because you could say the Spurs, and I wouldn't be too opposed to it. But I think they're the best player in the NBA at this current moment. SGA 55% from the field on 33 points per game in the playoffs, and that was with Dylan Brooks and Devin Booker guarding him. Now it's going to be Marcus Smart and Austin Reeves. The Thunder are the best team in the NBA and the best team in the playoffs. SGA is the best player in the world. Let's talk about this playoff bracket now. Let's go through matchup by matchup. I already talked about them a little bit. We'll just hammer them home one more time here. Laker, Thunder in 4. Timberwolves, Spurs in 6. If Ant plays, Timberwolves in 7, chat. You heard it here first. If Ant plays, Timberwolves in 7. Pistons, Cavs. Oh, dude, that's brutal. Cavs in 7. Sixers and Knicks. Sixers in 7. Then we have Sixers, Cavs. Oh, that's just a tough look. Whoever wins that's getting swept in the NBA Finals. And then Spurs, Thunder. Give me the Spurs in 7. The Spurs move to the NBA Finals. Unless Ant plays and then T-Wolves in 7. Thunder in 5 against the Timberwolves. Cavs, Sixers. Give me Sixers in 6 games. Sixers. It would be Sixers, Spurs if the Spurs can get past the T-Wolves, which I know that logic doesn't make sense, but I don't care. Thunder, Spurs. Give me the Thunder. Thunder over the Sixers in 5 games. Oklahoma City Thunder back-to-back. New dynasty in the NBA. Boom! Hit that like and subscribe button.